Greetings everyone, I'm Kate Allen here. I want to welcome you back to my series on the creative process through the lens of the Tarot Suit of Cups. For March, I pulled a card from this deck, the Brady Tarot. It's gorgeous. It's rooted in nature. And in this deck, the Suit of Cups is called the Suit of Horns. The Nine of Horns in this deck features a caribou. And if you're not familiar with caribou, think really large reindeer. So it features a caribou, and it's just crossed this large body of water, and it's dripping into these 9 horns on the ground beneath it. And behind the caribou, you can see a whole long line of other caribou who are also making this journey. In this deck, one of the things that's a little different is that each of these cards not only shows the usual designation for the card, in this case, 9 of Horns, but it also gives a keyword. And the keyword for the 9 of Horns is fulfillment. So I wanted to talk a bit about the idea of fulfillment and pose some questions to get you thinking about fulfillment, maybe in a different way than you were brought up to think about fulfillment. So when I first started thinking about this card, I was a little surprised to pull it because I don't feel as though I'm in a place of fulfillment in the sense of having achieved my great big goal. Like Charlotte in Charlotte's Web, when she talks to Wilbur about her magnum opus. That's often what I have thought of when I think of fulfillment. But I don't feel as though that's the sort of place I'm in at the moment. I feel like I'm very much in the thick of a journey rather than at the end of one. And of course, in Charlotte's Web, as soon as Charlotte is done with her magnum opus, she dies. And I'm definitely not feeling that energy. So I got thinking about fulfillment and thinking about how fulfillment is often presented as a linear end of a path or a journey. And I want to shift from thinking of fulfillment linearly to thinking of it cyclically. And when I say cyclically, I think of the moon. And I think of how it has this cyclical journey around the earth, and how the moon shows up in the sky to the naked eye depends on its position in relation to the earth and the sun. But the moon is always fully present, however it might appear on a given night. And that's what I want to think about. So I'm going to offer some questions. I'm going to ask first about the future, and then I want to ask about the past, and then I want to ask about the present. And I want to see if these questions don't point to a different sort of understanding about fulfillment. So I invite you to have your journal ready. You can pause the video anytime to answer questions. So starting with the future and thinking about fulfillment, if you could choose any vision for your future, either for a year from now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now, and if you could choose this vision with the confidence that no roadblock would get in your way, what would you choose? And now I want to ask about the past. When you think of this vision that you've just identified, and you look at your past, how far back can you go to find seeds of this vision? And then, what are some times in your early life that you embraced this vision, either in big or small ways? And what are some times in your early life when you seem to step away from this vision in some manner or another? And what motivated that? And is that still a motivator now? And then I want you to think about the present. If you think of yourself not so much as working towards some goal that's way out here beyond you somewhere, and think of yourself as being on a journey, a cyclical journey, where you're kind of moving ever around this vision that's been with you for a long time. Thinking of the present, how do you embrace your vision in this moment? And are there any steps, big or small, that you can take today to embrace this vision in new ways? I think of how I fell in love with stories when I was a kid. My dad used to read me stories at bedtime. And when I was 10, I got my first diary from Sears. My mom got it for me. And I decided I wanted to be a writer. I didn't know what I wanted to write about. I actually gave up on diary writing for a little bit after that because I couldn't think of things to say. That shifted later. But that desire was born there. It was born from being read magnificent stories and learning to love to read. And eventually this desire to write emerged from that. And I pursued that for a while. And then I replaced that pursuit with other pursuits that felt more reasonable, achievable, attainable, likely. And so, I don't know, somewhere along the way, middle school, high school, even though I did do writing in high school, and actually won some awards for my writing, I ended up steering myself in other directions. And so I would pursue the new direction and then realize it didn't bring me a whole lot of deep joy. And then I'd shift a little bit to something I thought would bring me joy. And, for a time it did, and then it didn't. And this cycle kept happening until very recently, during pandemic, when I finally made my way wholeheartedly back to writing and realized I'm really happy with writing. I like it a whole lot. I can sit here and I can just push words out, and even if they're not great words, I really like the process of it. And I realized very, very recently, like this calendar year, that I am willing to give up other comforts like certainty in order to pursue this thing that brings me deep joy. And that feels huge. I've never enjoyed uncertainty. Feels super uncomfortable and risky and unpleasant. But I am leaning into it because I've discovered that in uncertainty there is great possibility. And even though I don't know exactly what the next day or next week or month or year will look like, I'm here in the moment doing this thing I love, and what else do I need? Not a whole lot else, it turns out. So even though like I have goals that go with my writing that I have not achieved yet, I sense that I am right in the thick of fulfillment because I'm doing the thing that I most desire to do. And I feel like that kind of fulfillment can be available to anyone the moment they identify a deep desire and allow themselves to pursue it in some way. Even if they're not at the point of achieving big goals around that desire, being present to that desire is itself fulfillment, I think. What do you think? I invite you to say something in the comments if you'd like. And I also want to say thank you to my Patreon patrons for making this possible. You, the sticky ones, are so generous in your support of my work, and I really appreciate you. Thank you. I look forward to drawing the next card for this series in early April, and then I'll post a new video, first for the Patreon patrons and then later for the public, toward the end of the month. So you can look forward to that. I definitely look forward to that. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.